At 2 a.m. on May 14, 2008, 19-year-old Brandon Victor Swanson from Marshall, Minnesota, called his parents, hoping they could rescue him from a situation that would become a lifelong mystery. The night began innocently enough. School ended, friends gathered, and Brandon attended low-key parties in southwestern Minnesota. By the time he called his parents, the calendar had changed, the alcohol had worn off, and darkness enveloped the rural landscape. Brandon drove his Chevrolet Lumina home, but veered into a ditch. Stuck and frustrated, he called his parents, Annette and Brian Swanson, explaining his predicament. He promised to flash his lights so they could find him, but despite his efforts, the lights never reached them. Time passed, and the night grew colder and quieter. After 47 minutes on the line, Brandon's voice carried one final, chilling exclamation. "Oh shit!" And then silence. No more words, no more instructions, and no trace of his presence ever after. The phone call ended, and the certainty that Brandon was safely home vanished. On that spring night, Brandon attended a small party in Lind, a gathering with a few friends. Witnesses reported that he had a drink or two, but was not heavily intoxicated and seemed capable of navigating the evening. He then moved on to another gathering in Canby, Minnesota, where he stayed briefly and consumed another shot of alcohol. Though the night was social and lively, nothing about it suggested the tragedy that would follow. Between 12 a.m. and 12:30 a.m., Brandon left the second party and headed home to Marshall. Despite knowing the area, the darkness, rural roads, and his limited vision made navigating challenging. His car slipped off the gravel road and into a ditch. In a moment that would be scrutinized, he tried calling friends, but they didn't answer. He then reluctantly contacted his parents. Annette and Brian Swanson received the call at 1:54 a.m., and they immediately began preparing to rescue their son. Brandon described his location as being just outside of Lind, on the left side of the road, near Highway 23. He promised to flash his lights so they could locate him, a gesture intended to bridge the gap of darkness and distance. Yet, no signal ever reached them. As the parents drove through the countryside, hoping to reach their son, Brandon decided to walk toward what he believed to be the lights of Lind, instructing his parents to pick him up at a bar in town. For 47 tense minutes, he kept the line with his father open, sharing his progress, hoping to maintain the fragile connection that tethered him to the world. Then came that fateful moment. Around 2:30 a.m., Brandon's calm and measured voice was replaced by panic and surprise. "Oh shit," he exclaimed, a cry that suggested immediate danger or an unforeseen fall. His father thought he heard the sounds of slipping gravel, a possible stumble, perhaps a fall into a ditch or ravine. Calls and pleas for him to respond went unanswered. That final utterance was the last anyone would hear from Brandon Victor Swanson. By 6:30 a.m., Annette and Brian had officially reported Brandon missing to the Lind Police Department. Initially, their concerns were met with skepticism. Officers suggested that young men like Brandon sometimes stayed out overnight, and one infamously told Mr. Swanson that his son had a right to be missing. Fortunately, the persistence of the Swansons and the involvement of local Sheriff Joel Dahl eventually led to a proper search. Investigators secured Brandon's phone records to determine his last known location, which revealed a surprising twist. The cell phone had last pinged near Highway 68, close to the town of Taunton, over 25 miles from where Brandon thought he was. The Chevrolet Lumina was soon found in a ditch a mile north of Highway 68, evidence that Brandon had been navigating gravel back roads rather than the main highways. Curiously, no tracks were visible leading away from the car, raising immediate questions about how he might have walked into the surrounding darkness without leaving a trail. Bloodhounds were deployed, managing to track a scent trail that stretched approximately 3 miles before fading near the Yellow Medicine River. The river and its tributaries, nearby farmland, and surrounding terrain were combed thoroughly. Boats navigated the waterways, drones scouted the land from above, and volunteers searched tirelessly on foot. Yet, the search yielded nothing definitive. Brandon had vanished as completely as if he had slipped through the very earth itself. In the absence of answers, theories began to form. Many speculated that Brandon might have fallen into the Yellow Medicine River or one of its smaller branches. The proximity of his car to the river, combined with the scent trail of the bloodhounds and the exclamation of surprise captured in his last words, lent weight to this theory. Perhaps he slipped into the cold waters, unable to climb back onto the banks, and his body drifted or became submerged in the riverbed, hidden from the eyes of searchers. Some theorists considered hypothermia a likely culprit. While the night was not dangerously cold by Minnesota standards, around 40 degrees Fahrenheit, the possibility of wet clothing, either from rain, dew, or a slip into the river, could have created fatal conditions. Another possibility involved the rural nature of the region. Brandon could have wandered onto farmland with hidden dangers, abandoned wells, deep cisterns, or hidden ditches that could have trapped him. This theory would account for the lack of evidence along obvious paths, but conflicts with the bloodhound's tracking and the final sound his father thought he heard. Despite speculation, some even considered foul play. Could Brandon have been a victim of a random crime? Authorities quickly dismissed this idea as there was no evidence of another person's involvement, no signs of struggle, and nothing pointing to a third party. The silence of the surrounding landscape suggested Brandon's disappearance was a tragedy caused by accident and misfortune, not malice. In the years following his disappearance, Brandon's parents advocated for his case. The initial dismissal of his case, which stated he had a right to be missing, exposed a gap in handling missing adult cases. Annette Swanson contacted Marty Seifert, the minority leader of the Minnesota House of Representatives, to discuss her son's plight. Moved by their persistence and the tragedy that had befallen their family, Seifert introduced Brandon's Law, a piece of legislation that ensures missing adult cases are treated with urgency, regardless of age. The law mandates that law enforcement agencies act promptly when an adult is reported missing, preventing situations where loved ones are told to wait or dismiss their concerns. Though the law became a testament to Brandon's legacy, the emotional wound of his disappearance remained. As of now, he has never been found. His family continues to hold on to hope, inspired in part by advances in technology. Brandon Victor Swanson's story is both tragic and enigmatic, a chilling reminder of how quickly ordinary nights can turn into inexplicable mysteries. If you found this story compelling, like and subscribe for more true crime stories. As always, stay curious and stay safe.